What's happening around the world and what's happening here at home? A very good evening to you and welcome to Weekend Primetime News. I'm Sandru Ferdinando. Before we get into your stories in detail, let's take a quick look at your headlines for tonight.
Dairy farmers continue to be burdened. Authorities continue their attempt to import dairy heifers to the country. Another revelation about the investor of the second oil refinery project in Hambantota. Ceylon Electricity Board says the power outages to continue further. Minister of Power Ravi Karunanayake reiterates power will be restored completely by the 10th of this month. JVP MP Lanka's prediction about the presidential candidate.
මට වැඩි විශ්වාසයක් තියෙනවා ශිරන්ති එයි.
In our top story for tonight, the petition filed by notorious underworld kingpin Markanduri Madhush requesting he not be deported to Sri Lanka from Dubai, filed with a Dubai court, will be taken on the 14th of April.
In his petition, Madhush claims his life would be at risk if he is deported to Sri Lanka. Following the consideration of the petition, Sri Lankan authorities will look into measures of ensuring Markanduri Madhush and the others arrested along with him would be deported from Dubai. Police say that Markanduri Madhush and several others are wanted in connection with several crimes including murder and drug trafficking. They are to be arrested upon their arrival. 13 others who were arrested with Markanduri Madhush in Dubai have been deported to Sri Lanka.
Who should be held responsible for the transactions pertaining to the importation of heifers to the country, which has resulted in the downfall of the livestock industry? Shouldn't steps be taken to prevent this from taking place? It was in 2014 when Newsfirst made its first revelation regarding the importation of 20,000 heifers to Sri Lanka under a government-backed project aimed to boost the dairy farmers in the country. Confirming such revelations, these issues have now elevated, grabbing the attention of international media. Recent articles published on Australian Broadcasting Corporation and the Australian website Farm Weekly have confirmed all revelations that Newsfirst has continuously exposed throughout the years. The Australian media reports hundreds of heifers have died in a federal government-backed export deal with Sri Lanka, which local farmers say has left them bankrupt and in some cases suicidal. The following footage shows the plight of the farmers who are suffering due to the negligence of local officers in charge of this project.
We purchased 250 dairy heifers. Initially, we were happy and we fed the heifers well. The government agent said that the heifers will produce more than 20 litres of milk per day. However, we have never obtained more than 4 litres of milk per heifer a day. Some heifers only have 2 udders. On an average basis, we have not obtained more than 13 litres of milk. Heifers are dying continuously. We have to sell our houses now. Heifers and calves are dying continuously. We are finding it hard to meet ends. Many heifers are dying. They said the respective Australian companies supplied the best heifers, but we have not benefited from this project.
Under the project, an Australian company named Wellard Rural Exports Private Limited was contracted to import 20,000 heifers to Sri Lanka between 2012 and 2019. The respective agreement was initiated in 2014.
This project was initiated after obtaining cabinet approval on the 25th of June 2014. The agreement is with an Australian company named Wellard Rural Exports. The local agent is Foresight Engineering Private Limited, which is connected to the chairman of the Access Group, Sumal Pereira. Corruption and several irregularities were reported since the inception of the project. The government of good governance came into power after defeat in the previous regime. The Yahapalane government could have rejected and withdrawn from this project. However, they continued with the project as the commissions that could be earned was high.
This project received cabinet approval from the present government, disregarding the recommendations of the Auditor General and the National Planning Department. Accordingly, 5,000 dairy heifers were imported in 2017 and 2018, while a foreign loan valued at $73.9 million was obtained to finance the respective project. In addition, as per the agreement, an advance payment of rupees 1.32 billion has already been paid for the importation of the remaining dairy heifers.
The Secretary to the Ministry of Agriculture, Renuka Ekanayaka, is the wife of Saman Ekanayaka, the Secretary to the Prime Minister. Therefore, the Secretary intervened in this project and misused public funds in an illegal and unethical manner in several inappropriate transactions during the past few years. Even after having learned of the unfortunate situation of the 5,000 heifers that had already been imported, and even when the government had not allocated any funds for the importation of more heifers, the ministry proceeds to pay the Australian company Velard 1.32 billion rupees to import the remaining heifers. These funds were sourced through a bank loan that was obtained from a bank in New Zealand named Rabobank. It's the government of Sri Lanka that must pay this loan. It's been 10 months since this transaction was made, but not a single heifer has been imported to Sri Lanka as yet. On one hand, Velard Company in Australia has invested these funds and is generating income. And on the other, the government of Sri Lanka continues to pay loan installments and interest.
Should be left the corrupt authorities and politicians to import the remaining 15,000 heifers to the country through this program.
දූෂිත දේශපාලඥයින් දූෂිත ගනුදෙනු කරා. දූෂිත සමාගම්. ඉතින් ඒවත් එක්ක තමයි අපි මේ තත්ත්වය අද උදා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ.
The third meeting of the Asia-Europe Political Forum was held under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning.
Representatives from all political parties in Asia and Europe attended the forum today.
We just laid the foundation stone for a refinery, which is basically Indian owned, and a cement plant and LNG plant, which are Sri Lankan owned. So we certainly have not found any difficulties, and we find that we've taken it complimentary, but we finally want this to become the hub of the Indian Ocean. We are looking at ADB and Japan on how to expand the Colombo hub, how to expand the southern port, and then have a northern hub. India is helping us with the Kankasanture ports, so we would like to go ahead and develop it. Then what is our role? In the middle of what is most important for us is to ensure that there is no military conflict and this continues.
Although Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe boasts about new proposed projects almost daily, there is a revelation about the proposed oil refineries in the country. After the first proposed project to construct an oil refinery in Hambantota drowned in a massive allegations of corruption and fraud, Deputy Minister of Development Strategies and International Trade Nalin Bandara said that the government plans to construct a second oil refinery worth $14 billion. The track record of the investor involved in this project as well is anything but clean.
In a report published on Daily Mirror, it was revealed that a Singapore-based company named Sugi Energy International will be investing in this mega project. The company has a history of its shareholders being indicted over massive corruption charges. Foreign media reported the majority shareholder of Sugi Energy International in 2014, Edward Soyayat Jaya, has been indicted in Indonesia over corruption charges against him over the Pertamina pension fund management case. The gravity of the allegations leveled against him are evident, as the prosecution in the case has demanded for an 18-year jail term. He was guilty of arranging stock trading transactions with retirement fund managers by investing at PT Sugi Energy shares, the chosen company to invest in the second oil refinery project in Sri Lanka. The corrupt transaction within the Pertamina's pension fund in Indonesia had caused the state a loss of more than $42 million. Parallels can be drawn between corruption at Pertamina's pension fund and the central bank bond scam on a number of levels. Edward Soyayat Jaya is implicated in the alleged corruption practice for the management of Pertamina's pension fund in the fiscal years of 2014 to 15 by investing the assets under management of Sugi Energy stocks. We also reported that Sugi Energy International was registered in the British Virgin Islands back in 2010, which is another place popular for facilitating money laundering and acting as a tax haven. Transparency International Sri Lanka warned that Sri Lanka stands the list of being further labelled as a country with a flat record of countering money laundering and terrorism financing. The international watchdog was prompted into making this statement in the aftermath of the sketchy details being revealed by the government on the proposed oil refinery project in Mirijivila Hambantota. Raising their concerns on the available data, TISL said the controversy surrounding the proposed $3.85 billion oil refinery could have a negative impact on Sri Lanka's efforts to remove itself from the Financial Action Task Force's grey list of countries vulnerable to money laundering and terrorism financing. On the back of that concern, the government, whilst not being completely out of the woods on the stated Mirijivila transaction, announced details of yet another multi-billion-dollar project with a controversial track record, with the full knowledge of the Financial Action Task Force's team of evaluators arriving in Sri Lanka to further assess anti-money laundering and countering the financing of terrorism in the country. What appears to be an extremely incompetent due diligence process, coupled with an almighty hurry to announce multi-billion-dollar investments, is placing Sri Lanka at a real risk of slipping further down the murky path of nations highlighted as money laundering destinations, resulting in real solid foreign direct investors shine away. One must only recollect the Volkswagen factory saga and of course the central bank treasury bond scam to understand the justifiable fears and doubts on the intentions behind these shady investments.
While the leaders of Sri Lanka are busy branding the island as one of the most corrupt states in the world, other countries who were on par with Sri Lanka in the past have strategically upgraded themselves to the status of developed nations. In other words, the world has moved forward while we are lagging behind. Here's a good example. In 1960, both Sri Lanka's and South Korea's per capita GDP stood at 142.2 and 158.2 US dollars respectively. On the other hand, South Korea's per capita GDP had increased by approximately 600% and in less than a decade had reached 6,516 US dollars. By 2000, South Korea's per capita GDP had almost doubled to 11,947 US dollars, while Sri Lanka still lagged behind at 870 US dollars. By 2017, Sri Lanka's per capita GDP stood at 4,065.2 US dollars, which was only 1/7 of South Korea's per capita GDP of 29,742 US dollars. Since the 1960s, South Korea's per capita GDP had increased by 187%, while Sri Lanka's per capita GDP has increased by only 27.46%. While South Korea has made significant strides in its socio-economic march, resulting in a system that is determined to uphold the rule of law and fight corruption, Sri Lanka struggles with endemic corruption and a faltering legal system. Today, this is where Sri Lanka stands. What made the difference?
රුපියල් 10,000යි කපන්න 10,000යි තියන්නේ අවුරුදු කෑමක් නම් මේ කාලේ වෙන්නේ.
That was a farmer from Newsfirst here after his recent harvest. Due to the lack of profits, celebrating New Year is just a dream for many farmers in the country. These farmers say that even though the Paddy Marketing Board claims to be the leading public intervention for purchasing, storing, preparing and selling paddy, such claims have been limited to the sake of a statement. An example for the prevailing crisis is the issue at Hambantota, Badagiriya, which is a result of not purchasing paddy at a standard price at the proper time. We have very limited sources of income other than farming. We continue to farm with many debts in hand. By now, sellers have already priced paddy at 29 to 28 rupees. We are unable to even have proper 3 meals a day. The pleading of farmers from Tonigala, Kekirawa doesn't sound to that. At the parliament, they raised their voices saying it's for the farmer, but no one came to us and provided us relief. Politicians visit us during election campaigns, but that's only to obtain votes. We sold half of our paddy to black market buyers, but we still can't settle from the debts. People in Newsfirst question as to what hope they have for their future generations when the farmers who provide the country with food are being treated in this manner. There won't be any celebrations this new year. We will have to obtain loans, but people should have money with them at least to lend someone else some money. There's no use at all. We have sold at very low prices and now we don't have a cent in our hands. For the new year dawn, the farmers will have to eat poison and hide in the jungle. It's all talk and no action. They say that the farmers have become kings now. The farmers now have to beg from the beggars and leave their villages. As the Maha season comes to an end, clouding hope in the farmers, the next Yala season too poses a lot of uncertainty.
Like every season, we sold our paddy cultivation at a very low price. It's uncertain as to what will happen next season.
We sold the paddy at very low prices. Even during the new year, we do not have the financial capability to buy new clothes for our children. We can't even buy groceries for our houses. At the end of the day, we farmers are helpless. With this drought, it's very uncertain if we will get enough water to cultivate during the next season.
We first came to you and listened to your heart. We then walked into your home and took time to understand your life. The people saw, the people acted, and then development began. And today, young Sri Lankan leadership is coming to the forefront of national service. Gammantha, by the people, for the people.
While the farmers who provide the staple meal of the country face such difficulties, residents of many urban areas were burdened with the intermittent water and power cuts. This is a report on how these irregular power and water cuts have taken a toll on the general public.
Water cuts in Colombo and suburbs severely affected the people.
Water cuts have severely inconvenienced everyone. There's no water in the morning and the children are severely inconvenienced as they have to attend school. We would appreciate if we receive the water on time. Water is given only for 5 hours a day, 3 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening.
They cut water without informing us. We couldn't store water and now we don't have water for drinking purposes. While residents of Colombo face such difficulties, people living in Kaluthara, Vadu and Benthara are inconvenienced due to high levels of salinity in drinking water. Sand mining in the Kaluganga has been identified as a main cause for this.
The river mouth was approximately 100 feet, but now it's more than 1 kilometer, resulting in salt mixing with the river water. If we open a tap connected to this line, we only receive salt water. What you can see in the background is where the river mouth is. The river mouth was approximately 100 feet before, but now it expands over an area of more than 1 kilometer. People cannot drink this water.
The water has high levels of minerals. We cannot wash clothes as soap does not dissolve. We can't drink water. We can't even brush our teeth. Meanwhile, it's been 18 days since the people have been inconvenienced due to power cuts. The public as well as small and medium businesses are severely inconvenienced due to the continuous power shortages.
They cut power in the morning as well as in the evening. We are incurring heavy losses due to this. They cut power for a longer period than informed. We waste a lot of food. I run a tailor shop. It's in December and April that we hope to earn some extra money. They cut power for 3 hours in the morning and another 2 hours in the evening. They cut power for 3 hours in the morning. I repair phones. I cannot work due to the power cuts.
Locals from several areas charge that power is being cut for a longer period than what was informed by the Ceylon Electricity Board. When inquired from the CEB in this regard, a senior officer of the board stated that daily power cuts may increase further. A senior officer from the CEB also stated that they hope to supply uninterrupted power between the 13th and 12th of April. Minister of Power and Energy Ravi Karunanayake expressed the following views today.
We will stop these power cuts from the 10th of this month. We apologize for the inconveniences caused. We take on the responsibility of ensuring that such an issue will not take place again in the future. However, we must state that we all must conserve electricity.
Meanwhile, more than 321,127 people are affected by the prevailing droughts in many districts of the country.
75,410 families in many districts are affected by this intense drought condition in the country. These districts include Kegalle, Puttlam, Kurunegala, Vaunia and Jaffna. The highest temperature of 37.6 Celsius was recorded from Vaunia during the past 24 hours. The Department of Meteorology says that the warm temperature in the island will continue till May, adding that the sun will be placed directly above Sri Lanka until the 15th of April. It was reported that the water levels in Victoria, Randenigala, Rantabe and Kotmale reservoirs have drastically reduced. As a result of this, many who seek water from the Mahaveli River are facing a crisis. How the locals anticipate the water bowsers that distribute water to help them engage in their day-to-day activities. The area residents attached to the Patha Hewa Gama Divisional Secretariat said that the bowsers arrive once a day every 5 days. However, in the event that it does not occur, they stated that it would take another week for the supply of water to arrive through bowsers.
They initially distributed water for 1.5 hours, then it reduced to 30 minutes.
People have to walk long distances to obtain water. When we tried to obtain water from the water board, they didn't give it to us. They wanted us to look for bowsers, but we can't do that. Over 5,000 families in the Patha Hewa Gama Divisional Secretariat are affected due to the drought conditions. This is the current situation in the Ganal Tanna water source, which supplies water to a large number of people. Our reporter in Jaffna said that many are suffering due to this intense drought. This is the current situation of the people in the Mave Kalati village in North Valekama in Jaffna. They charge that they get the supply of water for only an hour per day, which is insufficient. While they do not have the necessary sanitary facilities, they have to resort to water from the palm fruit.
When the people at large are suffering from the power crisis, a lack of drinking water, and farmers can't make ends meet due to the untold sufferings and hardships, what is the role of our public representatives? Should these issues not top the list of their priorities? Unfortunately, the difference between the words of these parliamentarians who speak of commitment and their actions are like chalk and cheese.
Can such behavior at the chamber of the most respected branch of state in the country be approved? The people should think about this wisely. The people should rethink on their choice of electing such people who cannot maintain the minimum standard of discipline required in Parliament. We stress that such people should be removed from Parliament. Citizens should vote wisely in the upcoming elections.
Three elections will be held in the last month of this year and the first period of next year. Presidential election and the parliament election and also provincial council election also will be held within a 1 year of time. So on this period, we are requesting people, voters, to select clean candidate for that post as a president, as a parliamentarian, and also as a provincial council members.
A fire erupted at the Blue Mandel garbage dump this evening.
The Colombo Fire Extinguishing Unit deployed 6 fire trucks to douse the fire. The Sri Lanka Navy was also assisting in the operations.
JP Politburo member KD Lalkanth expressed these views attending an event held in Kandy.
As Gotabaya is fielded, Mahinda Rajapaksa's political career is over. Gotabaya Rajapaksa surfaced twice before this, and at both instances it was Mahinda Rajapaksa who pushed him back down. Mahinda has a challenge. It's a presidential election that is coming up. He cannot contest. He is in a fix now. Mahinda has 2 answers. He should field Shiranti. You laugh as soon as I say it. Imagine he gives it to Shiranti. We can give him slogans as well. Let's vote for Shiranti and make Mahinda president. If Gota is brought, he can be pushed aside. The white van man, the journalists are also done for. He attacked Sirasa, burnt down Sieta. This is Derana, right? They will have their chance. Hiru and Derana will be able to get Duminda out. Even if there are some of those who think Gotabaya will be fielded, I think that Gotabaya will not be fielded. I believe that it will be Shiranti who will contest.
The inaugural memorial oration of R. Senathi Raja Memorial Trust was held yesterday at the BMRCH in Colombo last evening.
The event saw the participation of the Attorney General Jayanta Jayasuriya, Governor of the Central Bank Dr. Indrajit Kumaraswamy and Solicitor General Dapulla de Oliveira. The oration, organized by the Trust, was held under the theme International Financial Centers and Specialized Legal Regimes. Is Sri Lanka ready? The oration was held to commemorate the multi-faced contribution of the late R. Senathi Raja, whose name is synonymous with the development of corporate, commercial and financial law in Sri Lanka.
And with that, we wrap up news for tonight. Thank you very much for joining us. Do take care and good night.